What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to another majestic comic book review video where I say words and you, I can't speak today, the magically delicious listen. It is I, your crazy Nicolas Cage, your steward of Gondor, your genius, billionaire playboy, basic YouTuber philanthropist, Supercliff. And would you kindly hit that like and subscribe button, for every little bit helps in this majestic YouTube world. And today, folks, we are venturing deep into DC's Infinite Frontier with Wonder Girl, issue number 1, written and drawn by Joëlle Jones, with the colors by Jordi Bellar. And away we go! As our story begins with a flashback, a sad and depressing tale, if you will, taking place deep within the jungles of Brazil, where a group consisting of strong and fierce women are shown defending a mother and her young daughter whilst combating Ares, the god of war, and his forces from furthering their reign of slaughter. Yet within this young girl's heart, within Yara Flor, she clearly isn't someone who can simply just sit on the sidelines whilst warriors give their lives to ensure the safety of others. And so, after picking up a small dagger, Yara manages to escape from her mother's clutches and charges forth, charging towards Ares. And so with all her might, Yara Flor stabs the god of war in the leg. However, this attack is by no means effective. 'Tis but a flesh wound, and to be honest, this is Ares. Dude has more than likely received far worse wounds in past battles. Basically, from Ares' perspective, this is the equivalent to getting stung by a bee. But hold on, folks, because though Ares simply dismisses Yara's attack as whatever, lol, Ares is still the god of war. And so, regardless of it being a minor wound, Yara has insulted the god of war. And despite her being a child, the girl must die, as a way to atone for this display of disrespect. However, Yara's mother rushes in front of her daughter, and so Ares, he takes this to be a sacrifice for Yara's actions. And with the terms being accepted, Ares gets off his horse, raises his sword, and strikes Yara's mother down, right in front of her. But before Yara can even attempt to do anything else, Yara's aunt picks her up and immediately takes off. Now, fast forward to the present, we see a much older Yara Flor who's on an airplane, which is making its descent from Ohio over to Brazil. Now Yara, as from what we can gather from the page's dialogue, Yara is here for a heritage tour, because with Yara being a bit older and her aunt Renata, who raised her in Ohio, and with her aunt not really wanting to talk about her birth home, she wants to know her heritage. She wants to know where she came from. And so by attending this tour of sorts, it's Yara's ticket for discovering who she really is. Now, as Yara makes her way through the airport, she gets a feeling, a particular one. However, Yara, she ignores it. Like, oh, that's cool, okay, moving on. However, this feeling isn't your average everyday feeling, for this was something that everyone from across the DC landscape experienced, and they all felt this sensation. It's affecting everyone, more so than others, because over in Themyscira, Queen Nubia, the current stand-in queen for the Amazons, feels something shadowy, a stain of dread. And in Mount Olympus, the goddess Hera experiences the same thing, dropping a goblet of wine as a result. And if you guys know anything about Hera, she loves wine, so her dropping a cup of wine should tell y'all that whatever is happening is bad. And lastly, over in Egypt, the Amazon queen, Thakura, experiences the same exact dreadful feeling. Afterwards, we pick back up with Yara, sitting on a bus with a bunch of people who she really doesn't want to be around with. And as Yara starts to have a flirty conversation with the bus driver up front, a car in the middle of the street is shown to be flipped over, with several people trapped beneath. And without a moment's pause, Yara jumps out of the bus and starts helping the people whom are trapped beneath the car, heroically pulling people out one after another. Suddenly the car explodes, but luckily, much to everyone's surprise, Yara appears to be completely unharmed. And as the bus driver gives Yara a hand, he mentions that Yara is different, because most people, they wouldn't have risked their lives to save others. Next, we pan away to Themyscira, Olympus, and Bada Migdal. And though each panel is separate from one another, the objective in all three remain the same, as each group is sending one of their own to capture or to kill Yara Flor. Afterwards, back in Brazil, we pick back up with Yara. And as Yara is wandering about by herself, whilst everyone else on the tour are being social with each other, Yara suddenly hears a voice, someone singing near the water. And as Yara looks down, she sees a whirlpool. It figures that the singing is coming from beneath. Suddenly, a whip, or something of sorts, grabs Yara and manages to pull her down into the water. And as Yara is descending further and further beneath, the singing appears to getting louder the further she goes. Eventually, Yara opens her eyes, and here she's greeted by a siren, the one who was singing, the one responsible for drowning Yara Flor. Wonder Girl, issue number 1, was a great intro issue for Future State's breakout character, Yara Flor. Everything about this is filled with immaculate freshness. Legit, a fine work that's compiled with copious amounts of treasures. Right off the bat, writer Joëlle Jones doesn't hold back anything with getting us, the readers, to immediately sympathize and relate to Yara's early life. The depiction of her mother's death, the sacrifice she made, like hot damn. That alone has so much story potential, and I can't wait to see how Jones addresses Yara's possible feeling of guilt, since it's technically her fault that her mother died. My only gripe with this issue is the issue's length, and it's weird because it's one of those instances where a lot does happen, but at the same time, not a lot happens. However, I'm able to look past that because with regards to the pages that don't consist a lot of dialogue, that's where the art kicks in, and holy shit, like, this book is beautiful. This sense of mystery and fantasy, it's insanely present, which is fantastic. And I would also like to add that because the series is obviously leaning heavily into South American mythology, that's cool and it's really popular, but it's not as popular as like Greek or Norse are in superhero comics. Therefore, that vibe of intrigue and mystery is wildly present. And so I'm hyped to see what sort of gods and creatures show up from South American mythology. I'm so down for that. Also, sirens are dope, and they creep the hell out of me. So, yeah. Overall, Wonder Girl issue 1 was a great first issue, and I can definitely see, as the series progresses, the amount of worthy possibilities that will be presented under the guise of Joëlle Jones. Wonder Girl issue number 1 gets an 8 out of 10. Giggity goo.